Hello creators, it's Melissa from Melissa's Creations. I'm getting over a cold, so I hope you forgive my voice. And welcome back. I am so sorry it's taken me so long to get a new video up for you guys. It's been crazy, hectic, busy, a lot of things happening. And if you want to know more about what's been going on with me, stick around to the end of the video and we'll have a little chit chat session at the end. I'm really excited to bring you this card today for the Creators Blog Hop. This is all about techniques, and today so happens to be Mother's Day, so I decided to make a card for my amazing and wonderful mother. She is awesome, and I really wanted to make an awesome card for her. So, looking at the front, you would say, oh, well, that's kind of nice, you know, it's pretty simple, pretty plain, but that's not the only great thing about this card. So the sentiment here is from Tea Together, and then I've used the First Frost stamp set and the coordinating dies. And I just added a couple of those fun little frosted and clear droplets. But what's really cool about this card, are you ready for it? Ta-da! It is called an Inside Tunnel card, and it just is amazing. And I love it, and I think it's so much fun. I think my mom's really going to enjoy it. She really loves the color purple, so I really wanted to incorporate that in my flowers. And then I just used the mint macaron along with the Highland heather and the gorgeous grape on the flowers, and I think it turned out really nice. Really happy with it. This sentiment here is also from the Tea Together stamp set. So we're going to play with that today, and I'm going to show you how to make this awesome Inside Tunnel card. Hope you're ready, because I am. Let's get started. So we're starting off with some Whisper White cardstock. I have two pieces here. For the thick Whisper White, I'm going to use that on the outside of my card. It's going to be my card base here, and it's also going to wrap around to make this inside tunnel portion right there. So the first thing I'm going to do, this is standard 8.5 by 11. I'm going to cut it on the long edge at 5.5 so that I basically am getting two card bases. Okay, so there's my two card bases. On this piece here, I'm going to cut a 1/2 inch off the edge. So I'm going to line that up at a 1/2 inch and trim that off. And then I'm going to score it. So move my cutting blade. Here's my scoring blade. I'm going to score it at 4 1/4. So it's right where you would score a normal card base. So when you fold it over, you have your front, and then your back is just a 1/2 inch smaller. Okay, so we're going to set that aside. Bring in our other piece. And for this piece, we're not going to cut it. We're just going to do a couple of score lines. So the first score we're going to do is at a 1/2 inch. So line that up at a 1/2 inch. And the next score I'm going to do is at 4 1/4. Now, I'm not going to move it this way because I need to account for this edge. So I'm actually going to flip it around. And the reason why I score my 1/2 inch on this edge, it's easier to hold on to. The paper's not floating way off here in the distance, and it's hard to get, you know, it's hard to line it up. So that's why I like to score it this way first. And then I'm going to flip it around. So now my score line is here. My 1/2 inch score line is right here. Now I can line it up at 4 1/4. And then the last score is at 4 3/4. I'm going to take my regular piece of Whisper White cardstock, and I'm going to cut that down as well. So I do need a piece that measures the standard card front size, which is 4 1/4 by 5.5. So I'm going to chop this in half on the long edge at 5.5. That way, if I want to do another card, I have a card base right here. So I'm going to put that in my pile. And when we get ready to cut this piece that's going to go on the inside of our card, it's going to be this middle piece here. We're just going to cut it a hair smaller, just a hair smaller than 4 1/4. Okay, so now that I have that, I do need to score it. And I'm going to score it at a 1/4 inch on each edge. So with the short edge at the top, I'm going to score a 1/4 inch. I'm going to rotate it and do the exact same thing, 1/4 inch again. So I have a bone folder here, and you can see it's well loved because it's pretty much all worn off the logo, the Stampin' Up! Logo there. So we're just going to give that a gentle fold with our fingers and then crease that with our bone folder, and do the same with the other two score lines. All right, so now there's our card base and our little piece that's going to essentially go on the inside and create our shadow box. So those are done. I'm going to set those aside. So bringing that bone folder back in, first I'm going to just finger crease just to make sure that I can get that in there. And then I'm going to reinforce with my bone folder. All right, before we move on, I am going to stamp my images and my sentiments on that other half of the card front that we cut apart. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp everything on there. To do that, I'm going to be using my Stamparatus, the amazing stamping tool from Stampin' Up! So I've got my magnets on the back. I'm going to take those off. I do have some washi tape wrapped around these, mostly just to be able to pick them up easy because they are super strong. Also, it kind of helps to prevent them from breaking when you accidentally snap them together when they get too close. I haven't tried it because I really don't want to risk breaking them. So I'm leaving them kind of, you know, separated. So we're going to put our cardstock in. And I'm going to just put one of these in each corner here. And now it's time for our stamps. So I have here, let me move this up a little bit. So I've got my first frost and the T together. So this first frost stamp set is clear mount. This one is cling mount. With the new catalog, I'm not quite sure if it's going to stay clear. I think it's going to transition to the cling. They're basically the same. They're both the red rubber, but the stickers are a lot stickier. So they stick a lot better to your Stamparatus plate or your acrylic blocks. So sometimes we have some issues with the clear mount, getting them to stick properly. So that's why I haven't put any of the stickers on these. And I think I'm just going to leave it that way because I find that usually this surface sticks a lot better to these plates than the stickers on the clear mount. So I'm going to grab what I need and we're just going to place them all over. I need one large rose, one small rose, this little thistle looking guy, I'm not quite sure, some kind of bud, like it's probably a rose bud. But for some reason, it reminds me of like an artichoke or a thistle. We're also going to need this long piece here. So let's try and maximize our paper. There we go. And I'm going to use this beautiful piece here. So we're going to put that there. And then I'm going to come back for my sentiments in just a second. So I'm going to start there. So now what I'm going to do is pick those stamps up in place. And what I love about this is I can stamp it all at the same time. And I really want to make sure that those stick well. If you find that you're doing the same kind of technique that I am and you don't have your stickers on the back and they're not sticking, try and give them a little wash on your Stampin' Scrub if you've got one. I find that that helps a lot. So what I'm going to do is actually sponge daub my stamps. And I'm going to do it one color at a time. So I'm going to start with the green, Mint Macaron. I'm going to open that guy up and I think this is the one I used. So I'm going to ink up my dauber and then I'm just going to daub it down onto the parts of my stamps that I want to be green. And don't worry if you don't get it really nicely inked the first time, you can always go back. That's what's so great about the Stamparatus is it'll stamp in the exact same place as long as you don't move your stamps or your paper. So you don't have to worry about trying to line it back up and it not working. So I'm going to stamp those down to get the green on there. Okay, and it's a little light, so I do want it a little bit darker, and I want to give it a little bit of depth. So in some places, I'm going to darken it up as much as possible, and then I'm going to leave it light in a few other places. All right, so that should be good for the green. I love this Stamparatus, you guys. Boom. And you can see that I have a little bit more dimension because I was able to ink up certain places. So I'm done with the mint macaron for now. I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to bring in my purples. I have Highland Heather and Gorgeous Grape. I'm going to use the lightest first, so that would be my Highland Heather. Take my sponge dauber again. And for this, I'm going to do the whole rose, the large, and the small. And then I'm going to do that little bud on that. It looks like an artichoke, I swear. But it's probably a rosebud, so I'm going to do that. And then these little guys here, these fun little, the sprig of whatever it is. The sprig of loveliness. All right. So that is gorgeous, and that is a nice segue into our next color, which is Gorgeous Grape. I'm going to open that, and I'm just going to do, again, just a couple accents, and this time I'm going to go around the outside edge of the roses, just a little bit, the very tip of the rosebud, and then just the outer tips of that fun little spriggy guy. There we go. Oops. Oh, just got my whole finger in there. Now I gotta be real careful, and I have to go wash my hands. All right, down with that. And boom, there you go. Beautiful variegation. Love it. So easy. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stamps done in, well, what was that, like a few minutes? I mean, so easy. You don't have to clean them every time in between. Just boom, done. Okay. It would make mass producing this card super effective and quick. All right, so I will wash these in a minute, but I don't want to wash them right now. So I'm going to actually take this plate off and set it aside. And I'm going to bring in my clean plate here and put it back. There we go. Now I'm going to grab my sentiment, and I'm going to stamp the Happy Mother's Day on this one first. And I will be stamping my outer sentiment a little bit later because I need to stamp it on a separate piece. So I am going to cut this out with a label die. So I want to give myself plenty of room to do that. So I'm going to kind of put it in the middle here. And these are the cling mount. So I do have the stickers on here, and they are super, super sticky. They're really amazing. You do have to be careful when you pick them up off of your plate or your block, because they are so sticky, but you shouldn't have any issues. Just be real careful. All right, so I am using the Stays On ink. You could use Memento, or any black archival ink would work just fine. All right, so now that I have all those stamped, I can move my paper off and set my stamparatus aside. Now it's time to bring in our big shot. So we'll get that right there, and actually push it this way a little bit so that you can see what I'm doing. So I have my magnetic platform, I have a cutting plate, I'm going to set down my cardstock, and I have another cutting plate to go on top as soon as I put my dies in there. So these are the Frosted Bouquet Framelits dies that coordinate with the First Frost stamp set. I'm going to pick out one of these rosebud pieces. Now I have put these onto one of those really thin magnetic sheets, just to help them kind of stay in place, and so I know where everything is. I've also taken a pencil and lightly, I don't know if you'll be able to see it well, but I've lightly outlined each one of these so I know exactly where it goes back, and I don't have problems getting it back in the case. So I'm going to get this guy out, and he goes over here. Now I find with the magnetic pieces and the magnetic platform, you kind of just want to do a couple at a time, because sometimes they like to move on you. So we're going to put this one here. See what I mean? That one is a little off. There are tricks to get around it, but I'm going to do him in a minute on his own. Let's see if this guy wants to stay. Nope, neither one of those. So I'm going to move those around in a second. So that means I can do this one. So I'm going to grab this label here. And I don't want a full label because see how big it is? So I'm actually going to just line it up kind of down here so that it's just in the top portion. And I'm going to run that through twice when I can move it back up to make it shorter. You'll see what I mean in a minute. and our label. So I'm going to set this aside and I'll do that again in just a second. All right, so now I'm going to come back in with my label and I'm going to shorten it. And to do that, I'm simply just going to lay it back over and slide it to where I want it. And I think I like that size. We're just going to run that through. And boom, shortened label. All right, so I'm going to cut the circle out of my larger piece first. This is the piece that has the 3 score lines on it. So out of the front, which is this side, so here's my 1/2 inch score line here, and here's my other 1/2 inch here. So we're gonna cut right here. So I'm gonna put that through, and I'm gonna get my circle, and I want it close to the top. So I'm gonna put it close to the top and center it on the sides. And I'm going to save this piece because I'm going to put my sentiment on it for the front of my card. Now for the next piece, here is the inner piece that I've scored 1/4 inch on each edge. I'm going to slide that underneath this, and I'm going to match up those score lines on each side here. So you want to make sure that your card is down there and flush, and that those score lines are lined up on the back piece and the front piece. Making sure that all my edges are flush. Now I'm going to take the circle framelit that's 2 sizes smaller than the first one, and I'm just going to put that right in the middle. And there I have my placement, so I can pick this up and run this through. All right, now it's time to start assembling. I have my tear and tape adhesive here. So what I'm gonna do is start on this piece. I'm gonna put tear and tape on each edge here. And I'm also going to put it on my 1/2 inch edge here. Okay, so now this is the point where if you wanted to sponge anything, now's the time to do it. And I did sponge the background on the back piece, and I sponged this inner circle. But on this card, I want to leave it plain so I can see the difference. I do like the dimension that it adds when they are sponged, but I want to see how this is going to look plain with just the stamps on it. Now to assemble, the first thing I'm going to do, here's my card base that I cut earlier with the 1/2 inch cut off of this back edge right here. So that's where I'm going to glue this piece to. So I have some liquid glue here, the multi-purpose liquid glue, and I'm going to put that on this back piece here. So my circle's on the left, my 1/2 inch score is on the left with that tear and tape adhesive. I'm going to put this liquid adhesive on the back here. Now I'm going to turn this piece over. I'm going to line up the score line with the edge. Make sure that all my edges are flush. Give that a test. Okay, the card closes. That's a bonus. There we go. Okay, so now you have your start to this card. So when you close it up like this, basically that is a shadow box card. Now I learned this technique from Jennifer McGuire. She has 2 videos, one for the shadow box card itself, which is basically this here, and then one for her inside tunnel card, which is adding the middle piece. And if you're interested, go ahead and check her out. Just Google her, Jennifer McGuire. She's got some awesome stuff. Okay, so now I'm going to add this piece. Now when I do, it's really important that your circles are going to line up. You want to make sure that you don't accidentally glue this piece upside down and then your circles are pretty wampus, you know what I mean? So make sure that your direction is really precise. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be gluing this piece down to this piece here, just like this, basically. So the first thing I'm going to do is take one edge of my tear and tape off at a time. So I'm going to peel the backing off of this side first, because I want to do the inside portion first. That doesn't really matter, that's just my personal preference. So I'm going to fold over all the little extra bits of my tear and tape and stick it to itself. All right, and then I'm going to line up those score lines. So you've got your score lines here and on the top piece, there and there. So I'm just gonna line those up, and I'm going to line up all of my edges as well. And before I commit to sticking everything down, I just want to turn it over and make sure that it's centered. So it is. We're looking good. Okay, so now I can commit. So now I'm going to take the tear and tape off of this side. And now I'm going to line up that score line with the score line here. You might have to pull and bend the card just a little bit to get it to go where you want it to. There we go. Okay, so now I have the inside stuck down. So now I can take the tear and tape off of my 1/2 inch edge here and get that stuck down to the inside of my card. Now that piece, that edge, is going to stick to the left side of this score line in the middle here. So basically, I'm lining up that edge with my score, and I'm just going to bring my card up like this. And it will fold flat. So you can see there it's flat. And when you open it, you've got your inside tunnel card. You can get varying levels of dimension by moving the piece in the middle. So on this card, I decided to glue it closer to the top layer. You can see here that it's almost like flesh. You can see the middle piece here is pretty much right up against the front. On my first card that I did, it's down a little farther, and that's because I lined up the edges with the bottom part of these folds, if that makes sense. I hope it does. So you can vary the layers that you have by moving them around. You can also add additional layers in here to create even more depth and more tunnels. So instead of gluing it up here at the top, I would glue it back in the back if you want to achieve a look similar to this card here. So I'm going to go ahead and get all of my pieces glued to the inside and finish the outside, and then we'll be done with this card. And there we go. There is our finished tunnel card. This one has a very different look than our first. There are quite a few differences, but I love how they both turned out. They're both just gorgeous. This one's a little simpler and cleaner, and this one just has a little bit more going on. So there's a little bit for every style, and there we go. I really hope you guys enjoyed that technique. Thank you so much for joining us for the Creators Blog Hop. Don't forget to check out my coordinating blog post to hop along to all of the other wonderfully talented demonstrators joining us this month. You can find the link for that in the description box below. You can follow me online at melissascreations.com and on Facebook at facebook.com/MKre8tions. I'm also on social media. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest with the handle at MKre8tions. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye! Hey everybody, it's Melissa. I really hope that you enjoyed that card today. It was a lot of fun to make and it was a lot of fun to decorate, and I hope you give it a try. I also hope that you hop along to all of the other demonstrators in the blog hop. They have some awesome techniques to share with you guys, and I am really excited about this month's hop. So I have been a little MIA for a while. I've been on and off here and there, but my husband and I are getting ready to start a family. I am 14 weeks pregnant right now, and we're really excited. But the first few months or the first few weeks of the pregnancy has kind of taken a toll on me. It's my first, and I've kind of been nauseous, and I've kind of had a lot of lack of energy. And so as you can tell, I'm sounding a lot different right now. I'm getting over a cold. I haven't been sick in like 2 years, and so being pregnant, my immune system is down a little bit. So pick that up, and on top of all of that, I do have seasonal allergies, and it is that time of the year. So it's been kind of a triple double whammy. So we also just moved. You can kind of maybe tell that I'm in a different place. The background is a lot different. It's actually a wall instead of just my backdrop. I haven't quite got that set up yet, so I don't have it ready to go. But so that's what's been happening. We've been moving. We've been excited about starting our family, and I'm getting over the morning sickness and the fatigue and a cold. So it's kind of why I've been MIA. I'm really hoping to jump back and grab the reins and just go for it. I'm really excited about this technique. This card is amazing. And again, I want to give a shout out to Jennifer McGuire. She is the inspiration and the person that I saw this card from. So she did an awesome job on hers, and I wanted to see what I could do with Stampin' Up! Products. So I'm really excited about that. So again, if you need a demonstrator, if you're looking to join a team, let me know. I'm just a message away. And thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to hop along to all the other blog hops in this hop this month. The technique hop is so amazing. You really don't want to miss any of it. So links in the description box below. Click that subscribe button. Give this video a big thumbs up. And don't forget to hit the bell icon if you want to be notified when I upload my next video. Thank you so much, guys. I can't wait to see where we go from here, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye.